Uproar when Ugandan Archbishop announces embracing Islam. Martin John Mwaipopo dared to announce his Islam. In front of his congregation, Martin, who served as Archbishop at that time, announced he was leaving Christianity for Islam. This moment occurred on December 23, 1986, 2 days before Christmas. The congregation who heard the news was shocked. In fact, the administrator immediately got up from his seat, closing the doors and windows. He told the church members that the bishop's mind was disturbed and he had gone crazy. How could it not be? Just a few minutes earlier, Mwaipopo took out his musical instrument and sang a very moving song for the church members. However, in the bishop's heart, there was a decision he wanted to make that would make the entire church uproar. The entertainment was in fact just a farewell party. The congregation's reaction was equally surprising. They even called the police to take the bishop, who was called crazy, away. Mwaipopo was held in a cell until midnight when Sheikh Ahmed Sheikh, his convert to Islam, came to his rescue. That incident was just the beginning of a mild shock for him. Al-Kalam reporter Simfiwe Sasanti spoke to the Tanzanian-born former Lutheran Archbishop. After converting to Islam, Mwaipopo became known as Al-Hajj Abu Bakr John Mwaipopo. The writer felt his curiosity was sparked after being told by his brother from Zimbabwe, Sufyan Sabelo, after he listened to Mwaipopo's lecture at the Y-Bank Islamic Center, Durban. Sufyan is the one who tells the story of Mwaipopo, who not only obtained a BA and master's degree, but also a doctorate in divinity, but then converted to Islam. Mwaipopo earned a diploma in church administration in England and final degrees in Berlin, Germany. Before becoming a Muslim, he was General Secretary for East Africa at the World Council of Churches, which includes Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Burundi, and parts of Ethiopia and Somalia. On the Church Council, he mingled with the chairman of the South African Human Rights Commission, Barney Pityana, and the chairman of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Bishop Desmond Tutu. The writer, Sasanti, then tells the story of the life of Mwaipopo, a man who was born 61 years ago, precisely on February 22nd in Bukavu, a region that borders Uganda. 2 years after his birth, the Mwaipopo family baptized him. 5 years later, they watched him proudly become an altar boy, someone who helps the clergy members in the church. The family was so proud when he saw him helping the church minister, preparing the body and blood of Christ. The father's mind was filled with ideas for his son's future that. When I was at boarding school then, my father wrote to me, saying he wanted me to become an imam. In every letter, he wrote this, recalled Mwaipopo, in an article on the Islam web page, reported on Tuesday, 4/8. However, Mwaipopo alias Abu Bakr has his own ideas about his life. He joins the police force. But at the age of 25, Mwaipopo gave in to his father's wishes. Unlike in Europe, where children can do as they please after the age of 21, in Africa, children are taught to respect their parents' will above their own. My son, before I close my eyes, die. I would be happy if you could become a priest, his father said to Mwaipopo. His father's advice then prompted him to move to England in 1964 to pursue a diploma in church administration. A year later, he went to Germany to do his BA. On his return, a year later, he was appointed acting executive. Until then, he earned a master's degree. While taking his doctorate, Mwaipopo began to question various things. All this time, I just did various things, without asking questions. I started to wonder. There are Christian, Islamic, Jewish, Buddhist religions, each different religion claiming to be the true religion. What is the truth? I want the truth, he said. Since then, Mwaipopo began a search until he reduced it to 4 major religions. One time he got a copy of the Quran. When he first opened the pages of the Quran, the first verses he found were Surah Al-Ikhlas. Say, He is Allah, the one and only. Allah, the immortal, the absolute. He neither begets nor begets, and there is none like him. So Mwaipopo tried to remember it. At that time, the seeds of Islam began to be planted for the first time. At that time, he discovered that the Quran was the only holy book that had been lost by humans since the revelation was revealed. In concluding my doctoral thesis, I said so. I don't care if they give me a doctor or not. It's the truth, and I'm looking for the truth, said Mwaipopo. With such thoughts in mind, Mwaipopo called Professor Van Berger. At that time, he closed the door and looked into the professor's eyes. Mwaipopo then asked, "Which of all the religions in the world is true?" The professor answered, "Islam." Mwaipopo then asked, "Then why are you not a Muslim?" The professor replied, "First, I hate Arabs, and second, do you see all the luxuries I have? Do you think I would give them all up for Islam?" When I thought about the answer, I thought about my own situation too, Mwaipopo recalled. At that time, what came to his imagination was his mission and his assets, such as his car. He thought he could not embrace Islam, and for a year, he forgot about it. But then, dreams haunted him. Verses from the Quran kept appearing. People dressed in white kept coming, especially on Fridays, until he couldn't take it anymore. Until finally, on December 22nd, 1986, he officially converted to Islam. These dreams guided him to convert to Islam. Mwaipopo believes that dreams are not superstition. No, I don't believe that all dreams are bad. There are those that guide you in the right direction and those that don't, and these dreams in particular guided me in the right direction to Islam, he said. Because of his decision to convert to Islam, the church confiscated his house and car. His wife had to pack her clothes, take her children, and leave. Mwaipopo guaranteed that his wife was not obliged to become a Muslim. When Mwaipopo went to his parents, they too had heard the story of his move. At that time, his father actually asked him to denounce Islam. Meanwhile, the mother said she didn't want to hear any nonsense from Mwaipopo. However, Mwaipopo expressed his feelings that he had forgiven his parents, because he finally found time to reconcile with his father before his father died. They're just old people who don't know. They can't even read the Bible. All they know is what they heard the pastor read, he said. After asking to stay one night, the next day, he began his journey to his family's native place, Kyela, near the border between Tanzania and Malawi. His parents have settled in Kilosa, Morogoro. During his journey, he was stranded in Busale at the home of a family selling home-brewed beer. It was there that he met his future wife, a Catholic nun, Sister Gertrude Kibweya, now known as Sister Zainab. With that nun, Mwaipopo went to Kyela. There, he met the old man who had given him shelter the night before. It was also the old man who told him that was where he would find other Muslims. But before that, in the morning, Mwaipopo made the call to prayer. Call to prayer. Hearing the call to prayer, the villagers came out of their homes. They asked the host why he kept a crazy man. Luckily, at that time, the nun explained that Mwaipopo was not crazy, but was a Muslim. It was also Sister Zainab who helped Mwaipopo pay for his medical expenses at the Anglican Mission Hospital when he was seriously ill. The story continues when Mwaipopo asks the nun why she is wearing a rosary. At that time, Sister Zainab answered that it was because Christ was hanging there. But say someone had killed your father with a gun. Would you go around carrying a gun on your chest? The nun thought, her mind challenging her old beliefs. Not long afterward, Mwaipopo proposed to Sister Zainab, and the nun accepted. They then married secretly. 4 weeks later, Sister Zainab wrote a letter to the authorities regarding her departure. The old man who gave her shelter, who was also Sister Zainab's uncle, heard about the wedding. They were told to leave his house. The uncle could not accept Sister Zainab's decision. Her father was very angry with Zainab's decision. From the bishop's house, Mwaipopo left and then lived in a mud house he built himself. From earning a living as Secretary General of the World Council of Churches for East Africa, he began earning a living as a woodcutter and cultivating several people's land. Apart from this work, Mwaipopo also preached Islam in public. This led to a series of short-term imprisonments for sermons deemed insulting to Christianity. While performing the Hajj in 1988, tragedy struck him. Her house was bombed, and as a result, 3 of her babies were killed. A bishop, whose mother and my own mother were the children of the same father, was involved in the plan, Mwaipopo recalled. However, instead of weakening, Mwaipopo's enthusiasm actually increased, because the number of people embracing Islam at that time was increasing, including his father-in-law. In 1992, he was arrested for 10 months, along with 70 followers. He was charged with treason. This happened after several pork shops were bombed. He did speak out against the sale of pork. He said, constitutionally, since 1913, there have been laws against the existence of bars, clubs, and pork shops in Dar es Salaam, Tanga, Mafia, Lindi, and Kigoma. Luckily, at that time he was released. Soon after, he fled to Zambia. He went into exile after being told there was a plot to kill him. Mwaipopo said the day he was released, police came to rearrest him. However, he said, the women said they would physically resist Mwaipopo's arrest against the police. They were also the ones who helped Mwaipopo cross the border unnoticed. At that time, Mwaipopo was dressed in women's clothing. Therefore, he said that was one of the reasons that made him admire women. Women must be given a high place. They must be given a good education in Islam. Otherwise, how can he understand why a man marries more than one wife? It was my wife Zainab who proposed that I marry my second wife, Shayla, her friend, when he had to go to study Islam abroad, Mwaipopo said. Mwaipopo, or Haji Abubakar, also gave a message to Muslims. He said there was a war against Islam, which was flooding the world with literature. Currently, he said, Muslims are made to feel ashamed to be considered fundamentalists. Muslims must stop their individualistic tendencies. They must be together, united. You must defend your neighbors if you want to survive, he said. In his message, he also called on Muslims to be brave. He then quoted Ahmed Deedat from the International Islamic Dawah Center. That person is not educated, but look at the way he spreads Islam, he added.